it's great to have this huge pitch deck and this huge idea and this huge great letter that you want to send to people or do things. But if you're able to boil things down to an easy way, and it's kind of what I say, like, you get in the door with a really quick pitch and then you're able to like show them the whole house. What's the kitty's name again?
Pumpkin.
Pumpkin.
This is, I don't know what it is. It's, so I got her when she was like a little kitty. Like she was like 10 weeks old or whatever. And for whatever reason, she's just always kind of liked licking my nose. She likes to get way up in my nose there. It's just something she's done since she was a little girl.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to episode 39, Lucky 39, which I thought was a prime number, and then I was like, wait, no, 39 is not a prime number. It's divisible by 3, right? But it felt like it could be a prime number, and that would be cool, but it's not. But anyway, the weekly talk show where we talk about the video game industry, all the fun trends. We got a lot to talk about this week. Of course, I'm always joined by Baby Girl, who's napping in my lap right here, and Pumpkin, who you just saw on the screen, but is over there causing trouble. She's always making noise doing something. I got this, I don't know if I have it. My friend and I watch BattleBots, and he got me this like cool BattleBots toy that's also like, it's meant like when you kind of play with them, they fall apart. And of course she knocked it all apart, and now all the pieces are
naturally
in the house. So, and of course every week we have a special guest. This week's special guest is even specialer than the last. We have my friend Adam Bankhurst here. Welcome, Adam.
Hello.
So, Adam, you've done many things in the game space, but currently you are a writer at IGN, and I'm excited to have you here because I think the games world in general, the games industry is kind of crazy. Games journalism is crazy right now. But our audience is always interested in asking about, how do you talk to game devs? How do you get them interested? How do you even get a hold of one, right? So we're going to be talking about a lot of that stuff. But before we get into it, I don't know if you just want to give us a quick rundown, kind of the history of Adam Bankhurst and how you got to where you are.
Yeah, for sure. So, born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio, moved down to Columbus to go to Ohio State, and where I met the wonderful Chris, I was running a Extra Life charity event, and he was running the first GDEX, and we just kind of looked across the way, and it was love at first sight, basically, is kind of how it is.
We just looked across the bay at each other, and we're like, who is that handsome man?
Exactly.
Yeah. That was when it was still the OGDE, the Ohio Game Developer Expo. That was our first year. And just by happenstance, we happened to be doing something at OSU's Union that weekend. And we've been working with Extra Life ever since to help raise money for, I don't know, do you want to just maybe give a quick spiel about Extra Life for people who don't know about it?
Yeah, for sure. So Extra Life, it's a gaming charity that raises money for nationwide, or like the, Children's Miracle Network hospitals. And in Columbus, we've been raising money for Nationwide Children's Hospital. So, for the last probably over 10 years now, we've been, really doing a lot of big events like GDEX and other things to help raise money for Nationwide and other hospitals from people who like to participate. And I think we, total our teams and everything have reached, I think, over like $300,000 or $400,000 raised. And it's been really exciting to do stuff. We have a big presence at GDEX, and we'll have another one this year, giving away donations, playing games, doing all that kind of good stuff. And it's just a great way to get involved and, do the things we love, we already do, and make a difference doing them, basically.
Yeah, I think the cool thing about Extra Life, besides the sort of charity component, which, I keep meaning to go back because this is year 12 for GDEX. We've had to have raised over $100,000 at GDEX with you guys. Like, I just feels like we had to at least be there. So I need to go back and look at that. But from the guest perspective, I think one of the cool things about Extra Life, and I think Shane, who helps work on this, and then you've got Tim, who's kind of spearheading it right now, but Shane is like a fucking weirdo, man. That guy manages to get all these cool one-of-a-kind like things.
He's a legend, man.
He goes to like every event under town, and then he comes back. He's like, "Oh, I got this like giant dragon statue. Should we raffle that off?" And I was like, "Sure." Like, it looks cool. But the way the raffle works is that there's always these like packages, and a lot of them I've got a couple that I won I got the Borderlands one a couple years ago, so I have like all the signed like Borderlands posters, which is really cool. I have to excuse my hair. I just took a shower. It's all over the place. Um, but there's always all sorts of. Actually, this chair is a
Oh,
special
look at that.
GX chair. This is
Oh
from
yeah, I
Max
remember that
Nomic,
one.
which was a part of the Extra Life, like 2014 or 2015. We got a couple of these specialty chairs,
Yeah,
and we
I
gave
remember
away.
that.
So yeah, there's always these cool like one of a kind prizes that you can get as part of the raffle, and it helps, in this case, because it's regional. So do you want to get down, sweetheart? Here's baby.
Maybe.
So the Extra Life Columbus helps to benefit Nationwide Children's Hospital. So all the different Extra Life, what are they called, branches, or
Yeah, yeah, branches kind of is what they use.
do they still have like the guilds and stuff? I remember that was a
Yeah,
thing for a minute.
yeah, they still have guilds too for some of the bigger cities, and it's been
Okay.
expanding a lot. And yeah, they keep growing as we all do, and extending stuff. And yeah, it's a great, yeah, great cause, great charity, good people, all that good stuff.
Awesome. So yet another fun thing that you can do at GDEX. So I
Exactly.
will remind people to check out GDEX, www.thegdex.com. It's coming up here in what, 5-6 weeks. It's going to be October 24th through 27th. I would kill for another month. I'm like, oh my god, I need another month.
What do we all?
But we are going to try to do the best we can. It's going to be super exciting. Also, we will announce next week we're going to start doing the community streams for GDEX every week. And I think we're going to try to vary the day that it's on so that people can make it, if they can't make it on like a Wednesday, for example, that maybe they can come to one on a Friday or something. So we're going to try to do the streams every week starting next week, but we'll announce once we have that figured out. And then also, we are going to be announcing some GDEX Game Jam information here shortly. So keep an eye on that. We've done a GDEX Game Jam every year since COVID. We kind of did that when we couldn't do a physical GDEX. And we're like, oh, what's some kind of way we can maybe bring people together? And so we did a game jam. So we'll be announcing information about that. But yeah, just make sure to follow that. And then, of course, this is the Sandbox.Space podcast. So you can check us out at thesandbox.space. You can sign up where we send out an email every week with the link to this podcast, as well as the articles that we talk about today. So let's get cooking. Why don't we start with just something fun, because we're all big nerds here. It's courtesy of GameSpot. Eddie Makuch, I don't know. The Last of Us Season 2 gets exciting update about its release date, which appears to be that it's going to try to be in the Emmy window, which ends May 31st, which is leading to people to believe that we will probably start to get the shows starting probably, I think it started in February for Season 1. So that seems like February, March is about what we might start to see. Which is crazy that it's taking like a year and a half per season. But Adam, did you watch the Last of Us show? Are you a fan of the show? Did you like the games?
I did. Oh yeah, yeah. Love the games, and it's they did such a great job being faithful, but adding in obviously a few different stories and things to build out the world, which I loved. And yeah, I mean, they just did such a great job. It was just as brutal, just as shocking, even though you kind of knew a lot of the things that were coming, but they still kept you on your toes, which I really appreciated. And I can only imagine season 2. I mean, obviously we know some of the things that are coming without spoiling anything, but it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out and what happens and how the internet reacts, because they're always normal about all those things.
I'm sure it will be. Yeah. Yeah, it is interesting. I think that I hope my issue with the first season, I liked the first season a lot, don't get me wrong, is that it just felt very rushed to me. I think part of the game is sort of sitting in these slower moments. And I think the TV show, granted, I think it's the most expensive show that HBO is producing right now. I just felt like we were moving really quick, and like a couple of those episodes, like it wasn't like one episode like 39 minutes or something. It was like real fast.
Oh yeah, yeah. Some of them are real quick.
And so I hope that they maybe give it a little bit of time to breathe, let the characters kind of interact, because I think that's really was one of the strengths of the game is you'd have those really intense set pieces, but then you'd have 30 minutes or 40 minutes where you're just kind of like quiet and you could process what's going on. But season 2, I keep telling my friend, like, season 2, man, it's going to be wild. I think they're splitting season 2 into, or they're splitting the part 2 into 2 seasons of the show, I believe. Is that?
Yeah, which I was about to bring up and say that might help with letting things breathe a little bit. So, because the first season was obviously the whole first game, so now they're gonna have 2 seasons to tell the story. So hopefully it solves some of your issues with it, which would be nice.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, some of my like favorite gaming set pieces are from The Last of Us Part 2. Like, they're just some amazing moments, and I hope they are able to capture them in the show. But I thought that was just a fun way to sort of start. I've played Last of Us Part 2 a lot. Well, Part 1 and Part 2 a lot. I'd love to get like the crew who made Last of Us out to GDEX some year, but they're all busy making games and such. It's ridiculous.
I know. Too bad about factions. I was excited to see what that was going to become.
Oh yeah,
that's a whole nother topic with
totally.
live service games.
Did you play the multiplayer for
the original?
Last of Us?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And and obviously you could see what they could have built that out to, which is amazing. So it's just sad they couldn't kind of reach their vision of what it was going to be, because that could have been special, but I can only imagine how tough that's got to be. I mean, live service is no joke, as we've seen a lot recently in the news.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably one of those things that if they didn't feel confident in it, it's better they killed it.
Yeah, definitely.
Because Naughty Dog has such a strong reputation for making quality stuff that I don't think they want to release something they're not super proud of. But it is a shame. Maybe we'll see some variant of it in Last of Us Part 3.
Yeah, you never know. Fingers crossed. That'd be nice.
All right. Well, let's get into the meat of things. If I can get this to load. Maybe. Am I still on the internet? Is the world broken?
You are. So while you get that ready, I'll just kind of let people know. I know we were kind of getting there, but I've been at IGN for 6 years now, and I started on the news team, and I run the news team a lot and run weekend news and a lot of these other, help run big events and help out a bunch of the team. But I also, when you're a part of IGN, you have the opportunity to do a lot more things, which is great. So I also run the homepage with one of my coworkers. So if all the changes and things you see on the website, I manage that and where to place things and how to, so it's a very interesting to see what gets promoted, what doesn't, what does well, what clicks well in certain places. And there's so many other things, obviously previews, reviews. I mean, I've kind of done it all at IGN, and it's been a great experience. It's been very, very eye-opening seeing it from everything from behind the scenes. But as I'm sure we'll get into, it's also the media landscape is changing, and we've seen so many sad stories, especially recently, of Game Informer, which I would pour one out for, which is basically the reason I'm doing what I do is because of Game Informer, getting those magazines, which so much of us grew up loving. It's just sad to see some of these institutions go away, and it's there's a lot of good, but there's a lot of sad going on. So hopefully that balances out soon, because getting tiring a little bit, but that's kind of a little background.
Well, we are going to talk about a lot of that stuff for sure.
I'm sure.
So thanks for filling the space so I could get my coffee.
Yeah, I got you.
You're a professional. All right, so we're going to actually go to one of your colleagues here real fast, and we're going to talk about the PS5 Pro.
Woohoo!
So this is from IGN.com, Mr. Brian Altano, a longtime IGNer. So I'm not going to read the article. This will obviously be in the email, but the title alone I think is pretty telling, which is the $700 PS5 Pro is too much for too little. The subline, not even the biggest game on the planet can help the PS5 Pro. That's a harsh indictment, Mr. Bankhurst.
A little bit.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the PS5 Pro, which was just announced in a rather, I don't want to say strange, but they had to have known that there was going to be some consternation around the price, and like review video, or not the review video, the announcement video. It was like a 9-minute video that I just thought they could have made it like a little bit more exciting. Like it just seemed like, I don't know, maybe they threw it together at the last minute or something. Curious your takes though.
Yeah, I mean, PlayStation's in a very interesting place right now because, we obviously had the disaster that was Concord, even though I actually loved that game and I had a lot of fun with it and I enjoyed that a lot. But we also, we got Astrobot, which is amazing. But, there's not really too much we know concrete that's on the horizon right now. And it's an interesting time for them to release that PS5 Pro technical preview because, they didn't have like a big game to showcase. We were looking at a lot of older games, which I think does not help. And I saw some sites run with a headline like the PS5 Pro is the best way to play PS4 games or something. And it's like, that's not, I'm sure the thing they want people to really take away and spend $700 on. So, I think we obviously have to wait to see what it's going to fully be like. But I think they kind of probably knew going in that this wasn't going to be like the megaton drop that was going to happen. But I think I saw a stat. I need to, double check it. But, the PS4 Pro sold decently well, but obviously it's not, the huge money maker. And I think they know that the most diehard people, even if they complain online, are going to come out and buy this stuff anyway. So it'll be kind of interesting to see how things kind of shake out with that.
Sure. I mean, I'm probably going to buy one, but I don't spend a lot of money on stuff, but I do like, I've said this on the show before. I do tend to, like, I have a nice TV. I got a 77-inch OLED. I would have gone larger, except I don't know if my room can take it. And game stuff, I'll buy, the latest and greatest. But I do think that this is interesting. Even on the PlayStation 5s, if you go to the, I guess I can show it here. Hold on. Give me a sec. It's a very muddled message, it feels, on what this actually is. So this is the PlayStation 5, the official PlayStation page for it. It's got these nice graphics, it looks pretty, but it's a PlayStation 5 Pro. Play PS5 games with the most impressive visuals ever possible on a PlayStation console. You're like, okay. Yeah. And then it's below the header. Below the fold line is Witness Play Unleashed, and that's trademarked. And you're like, what the fuck does that even mean? Like, what? Witness Play Unleashed. And they trademarked that line? Like, what? So it's a little confusing about what they're trying to do. And so I was thinking, and let me know if I'm off base here. I think that this might be, because like you said, people that want it like me are probably going to buy it. And maybe maybe out of the total sort of PS5 sales lifetime, this might represent 10 or 15%, maybe, at best.
Somewhere around that for PS4 Pro, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. So I think what they're really doing right now is they might be doing a test on their new PSSR in prep for the PlayStation 6. I think that they might be just using this as a way to get that new technology stack out there so they can kind of refine it over the next 2 years for the PS6 to come out. So I'm curious on do you think I'm off base on that or?
No, not at all. I think especially with these things, I mean, we saw that. I mean, even I'm kind of with you, and I'm like, I have a marketing degree from Ohio State, and I'm probably the biggest sucker for marketing. I always fall for these things. So I'll probably be getting a PS5 Pro as well. But it's it kind of is a similar thing with the Apple Vision Pro. Is like, I mean, that obviously was like that price tag was outrageous, but
they went with a B2B model on that. They were going
for sure,
similar to Microsoft's HoloLens.
Definitely. So yeah, that definitely. But yeah, right. Which is definitely more business focused than the PS5 Pro, which I agree. But on top level, I do think there is a ton of value in getting if you can sustain it and get some of the things back from what you want to do. It's great to get it in the hands of people because you could have your company test it as much as you want, but you're never going to get as much data as when it's out in the wild. So I definitely think there is some standing of that being a case, getting ready for the PS6 and have the PS5 Pro developers getting ready to build for it. So when the big AAA games are ready to come out, like your Ghost of Tsushima 2, Last of Us Part 3, etc., whatever, then they'll have a lot more time working with some of the highest tech. And then when those come out, then it's going to be like, look at this game on the PS5 Pro. You won't even believe it. So I definitely think there is some runway they're giving themselves that I think could make sense. Because yeah, it's a lot. It's obviously they're putting a lot of very good, big tech in there, and some of the stuff is even not in mainstream computers yet. So obviously that comes with the price tag. So it's interesting, but yeah, I definitely think your reasoning is not too far off base.
That's a really good point. Digital Foundry, which we will talk about later as well. One of their folks, I can't remember which one of their hosts mentioned this, but I think it was actually in an interview with IGN, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it was. Yep. Yeah, I know. Yep. I know
where,
exactly.
Yeah, one of your guys was asking him about like, is the price too high? And he's saying that like he doesn't think, based on his assessment, that PlayStation's, people are like, oh, this is a big cash grab. He doesn't think PlayStation's making much money from this. He's like, at best, they might be making like $50 per unit on this thing.
Consoles never are my other profit drivers for sure.
Yeah, and so if they're making between $20 and $50 per unit on that, you keep in mind all of the engineering, all the marketing, and everything. They're probably gonna hit a break even on that in terms of the hardware sales. But your other point you did mention is that the GPU update includes a sort of technology suite that just you cannot get on consumer market GPUs right now. So maybe given a little bit of time for some of these other games to come out, we might start to see that things like PSRR and their new ray tracing AI might end up being a lot more impressive than. This is the other thing I have to remind people is like you're watching a video being streamed over YouTube, so like YouTube's doing their compression. And sometimes when you're watching, like, are you looking at two still images next to each other? Like, the GPU you see a lot of the performance in actual moving around in gameplay. So yeah, it's a little hard to kind of judge a book by its cover. I believe, I assume IGN has this. I believe PlayStation just released like a press kit with high fidelity imagery for folks. So that
they've tried to help out that a little bit, so you can take a look at it.
Yeah, without just like trying to peek at a YouTube video.
I know. Yeah. What is the difference? What am I looking at? Some grass in the background? I don't even know what I'm looking at.
Yeah, exactly. But the other thing I'm curious about that the conversation has been sort of revolving around is, so it's obvious that PlayStation 5 Pro is trying to set 60 FPS, 60 frame rate at native 4K is the goal, right? And I guess you could argue it's not truly native if the PSSR is doing computational lift, but whatever. Like, let's just say we're trying to get to a 60 FPS 4K standard benchmark for all games going forward. That seems to be what they're pushing. GTA 6, man. Is GTA 6 going to run at 4K 60?
Well, I think it was Digital Foundry as well. They said probably not. Is kind of what they're thinking, like, unless there's been some, I can't remember if it was Digital Foundry or some other, but I know someone recently came out, an expert, saying that's not really Rockstar's MO a lot of the times, and I think people shouldn't expect 60 because I think they're kind of more focused on a lot of the bigger computations and open world things happening and stuff like that. I mean, obviously that would be kind of the biggest news because, just kind of jumping off a little tangent there, I think that was what people were expecting. The PS5 Pro was going to remove the choice of performance or like high resolution, but they didn't really say that. They're like, that's the goal. Like, that's what's going to happen. So it's because obviously they can't speak for third party companies, and there's a lot of other things that are kind of in the process of that. So, obviously Rockstar has some of the greatest wizards of our time. So I'm not saying they can't do it, but there's some scuttle out there that people maybe shouldn't expect it. But if they could reach that and really tag that with the PS5 Pro and link it to them, I mean, then I don't think anyone would ever even blink an eye at the price. They're gonna be like, give me that right now. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. But I don't know. It's a lot harder than I think people realize than flipping a 4K 60 Switch, unfortunately.
Yeah. So you think that GTA 6 could potentially be a PS5 Pro system seller if it ends up showing a significant performance improvement?
I definitely think so, because PlayStation obviously does a really good job of touting specific games and doing stuff. And if they can really show the difference of what 4K 60 is at, because the biggest thing with GTA 6, which I think obviously I think people realize because the game is so big, but it's probably not going to be on PC for a year or even more after. So if the PS5 Pro can position itself as the best place to play GTA 6, then that's going to be one of the biggest things it can do, because you're not going to be able to run this on your massive, PC and with running the greatest, NVIDIA chips or whatever, all this power. You have to do it on console. So if you're looking at either the PS5, PS5 Pro, Xbox Series X, whatever, and you see that the PS5 Pro is like, come play GTA 6 at 4K 60, or even, like I said, I'm sure if it's not there, they'll probably tout it in some other ways. But that's gonna be how they're gonna really kind of position it for success, without a doubt.
You think we're getting GTA 6 next year? I don't think we are. I think it's a 2026 release.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to put my money on it, I would always take the cautionary route. As we've seen, just game development it's crazy. It's crazy to think that, back when we were growing up, we used to get like a new Final Fantasy every year, like clockwork, like a new Madden game or something. It felt like, and it's just not realistic now. I mean, we're going to be waiting probably a few more years for the new Last of Us. Who knows how far the new God of War is and other things. I mean, it's just unfortunate. And a game as big as GTA 6, and at a company at Rockstar that literally can do whatever they want and does not need to release a game.
Yeah,
I know they're probably hoping and planning for it, and I'm sure they'll do their best to do it.
I'm sure they are. I mean, it's estimated it's going to be a $2 billion budget on this game, including marketing. Like, they better be planning.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But if I had to guess,
I hear
I would probably take the under.
There's very few companies in the world that can afford to just not release a product and be cool with it. They're just like, we're fine. So that brings me to, I always like to, when I stumble upon interesting new like YouTubers and content creators. So there's this guy, I don't know if he's well known or not. He showed up on my Zenke Goose. It's got 166,000 followers, 76 videos, but he's got two really interesting videos. One is I played every Rockstar game ever, and the other is I tried every Blizzard game ever. I would highly suggest grab some popcorn, grab a drink. They're pretty long. One's 50 minutes and the other's an hour and 15. But sit down and watch those, because they're really, really interesting. The Blizzard one, like, continually just illustrates, like, we can crap on Blizzard all you want. It's fun for the internet to do that. But Blizzard has fundamentally changed the video game industry multiple times. But the interesting thing about Rockstar is his sort of like ongoing thesis is that every game, pretty much since GTA 3, but definitely since like Vice City and San Andreas, every game that is not a mainline GTA game is pretty much just a tester for content and mechanics that will eventually be incorporated into GTA, including like their table tennis game. And so I thought that was a really interesting just look that Rockstar views GTA as like, that is their like tentpole, right? That is their flagship. And so every time they release something else that isn't GTA, they're doing it as a way to test out different mechanics and refine those so that they can eventually become incorporated into whatever GTA that they're working on at the moment. So I would suggest watching those videos. Really, really interesting. I would be surprised if it's going to run at 4K 60. I would be very, very surprised. But that also brings up one last interesting point that, again, Digital Foundry, shout out to them. You should definitely be subscribed to them if you're not. Yeah. But they mentioned that the PS5 Pro and the sort of updates on the Series X and the S coming out this fall, none of them have any meaningful CPU upgrades. It's all GPU, which then sort of begs the question that you're going to end up getting bottleneck on a lot of the like simulation front stuff, on all the like the non-graphics computations of what's going on, of which GTA is big. Like, and I think they mentioned Baldur's Gate 3. A lot of the performance hangups around Baldur's Gate 3 are not GPU related; they're CPU related. They're computational issues. And so I find that interesting that the Pro did not get any kind of meaningful CPU changes. It's just sort of all graphics all the time, which I guess is the world we live in.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of the reason is, as great as that would be, it could push us into a similar problem that Xbox has with Xbox Series X. I know it's not like, like apples to apples, but the divide between the two might be a bit more difficult to develop for, because you might run into some of these bottlenecks on the original one that you can't really translate one to one. Whereas visuals, obviously, it's a little easier to kind of to bump those up from one version to another. So it might have something to do with that. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting omission for sure that could mean a lot of different things. But I think that it just might have something to do with PS5 is still going to be their big ticket item, and they don't want to totally alienate all the people who can't afford a PS5 Pro, already have a PS5 and are happy with it, and say, hey, if you get this, you can only get this here. That could backfire.
I think the PS5 is a great system. I was telling my students, because we were talking about this topic yesterday, and one of them was just like, oh, there's no games on it. And I was like, all right. And I literally said, I was like, I kind of want all you guys to sort of like pull your head out of your ass for a minute, right? It's really easy to dump on the games industry. It's really easy to critique and complain about stuff, but like there is literally never been a better time to be a gamer than right now. The PS5 with PS4 backwards compatibility and access to PS3 games on PlayStation Now, you will never run out of games to play. Never. Like just the free games I have on my backlog for PlayStation Plus, I could probably play for like 2 years of games, right? Like to say that there's no games to play, I just think is such an intellectually dishonest way to go about it that it's just, maybe this because we're a little bit older, we've been through the trenches, we've seen some periods of time when there's like literally nothing to play,
or
nothing real great to play. But this is the best time to be a gamer right now. There's so much good stuff, and that's not even counting the indie space, man. Like,
oh my god, I know
there's so much great stuff on the indie space. An interesting thing here, one of our people has been talking about. I'm not going to go over it because it's pretty detailed, but just about DPI and resolution and what our eyes can resolve and things like that. And I definitely have hit the point in my life where like I have to. I talked about this on a previous episode where I bought a 1440p monitor and I gave it to our programmer Tom because I just can't, like, I have to work on 4K. Like I just can't play on anything less than 4K. It just seems blurry to me. And I just, in the back of my mind, is like, this could be looking better. And so for 4K, I usually tend to work on, was it like resolution mode or whatever, even though I like performance mode, but every so like, and I actually mentioned it in the PlayStation 5. They didn't give any details, in the Pro reveal, but Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, because that game on performance mode looks like absolute garbage.
No, I know.
It is whatever they're doing with their scaling technology on that. I don't know what it is, DSSR or whatever. It's awful looking. It looks terrible. And so maybe this will help get that game into a place, because on fidelity mode, it looks beautiful. I don't know if you've played Rebirth, but Final
Fantasy VII is my favorite game of all time.
Okay,
and
it's definitely one of mine.
Yeah, having two kids has made it an unfortunate thing where I'm still only a few hours into the game, and it makes me very, very sad. But so I'm at this point, I'm like, I might just wait for that PS5 Pro and play it the best way possible. We'll see.
so I will say this: I was not a big fan of the FF7 remake. I just felt like the voice acting was kind of weird, and it didn't really grab me. And I wasn't even going to play Final Fantasy VII Rebirth until I came home one night and I was drunk and I was like, screw it, I'll just buy it. And I loved it. I loved like every second of it. I was just continually impressed and overwhelmed. Like how just creative, it's just constant creative things happening. So I think you are in for a treat.
I have very little doubts, and I'm very excited when I somehow find the time in 18 years when my kids go to college. It'll be great.
Yeah. I always joke that like 1 year for GDEX, I should just have a stream where like all I do is like sit down and play like Warcraft or something, World of Warcraft. Like that will be my GDEX experience, is just everybody watching me play video games.
I like it.
All right, so we're gonna go to the main topic of the show, which I think is gonna be really interesting for you. Going back to IGN again. IGN Entertainment acquires Eurogamer, Game Informer, VG247, Rock Paper Shotgun, Digital Foundry. There's a whole list. What else? Push Square, Nintendo Life. These are off the top of my head. This is, I like this article is by IGN staff.
I know.
So
gotta be prim and proper.
IGN made a huge acquisition this year I think it's safe to say that IGN and its parent company, Ziff Davis, probably owns 80% of the games journalism market right now.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's a lot. So I'm curious, as obviously you are sort of a rep of IGN, but you're also giving your own opinion here, and we're not throwing anyone under the bus. I just want to have a. I've been a big fan. We've had many IGNers out to GDEX, but I think it is important to have a conversation about sort of the state of games journalism, because I think other journalism is also having these conversations. We're seeing almost all local journalism disappear these days. And so I'm kind of curious what your sort of thoughts are on this, and we can kind of begin that conversation, because I think this is a very interesting time. The games industry itself is going through just acquisition after acquisition. There's so much consolidation. Is it just the state of the world here? Are we going to see other opportunities for smaller stuff pop up? Adam Sears, solve all the problems for us.
Of course. Yeah, I'll do it. I'm ready. I'm time to save the world. No, so I do want to kind of clarify, because that article, I mean, while true, it's not like misleading, but because when people yeah, exactly. So I'll have to talk to whoever wrote that. No, but it says IGN Entertainment acquires. It's really more like Ziff Davis does, because from someone working on the inside of IGN, like it still feels like separate companies. Like obviously there's probably high level conversations that I'm not privy to, and top level things where things are going to get maybe more consolidated as the years go on, but there is still some separation, which is nice. Ziff Davis really does a good job of kind of keeping the editorial side and the sales side and other teams separate, which is good, because I mean, nobody wants just one voice. I mean, that's the most boring thing you could ever think of.
Yeah. Can I jump in here too? Because I do want to give IGN a little bit of props. I think IGN gets a lot of hate. Again, I mean, everything on the internet gets hate, right?
Right.
But in my personal experience working with both people like you and others at IGN, engaging both sort of from a GDEX side and indie dev side, as well as kind of a more business side, I have found that everyone at IGN that is there actually cares about the content they're making. I have never heard anybody say that like the higher ups told me to write an article with a certain slant, or that an advertiser is forcing you. Yeah, I mean, there might be like a sponsored event or something. IGN has all sorts of events throughout the year that are sponsored, but I mean, GDEX is sponsored. But nobody, for example, who sponsors GDEX has ever told me what to do. Like, you are sponsoring in this because you believe in our vision and our community. And if anybody came in and be like, $10,000, but I want you to do this, I'm not going to do it if I feel like it's going to be harmful for our community. And that includes like we don't allow sales talks and stuff like that. So I want to give IGN a little bit of props, because you can see it on reviews on like Metacritic and Rotten Tomato, where it's just like, of course IGN's getting paid to write this review or whatever. That's not being said.
That'd be nice.
Yeah. I mean, there definitely is sort of and we've seen this, maybe this is something you can talk about too, how the sort of pre-review has changed over the years, where it's like you guys used to get games, somewhat well in advance that you could actually like review it. And nowadays, like the embargoes are like, they're pretty strenuous, but that's sort of a different conversation. But I do think IGN should, at least the boots on the ground people that are doing the work, I think deserve a little more credit than they get a lot of times.
Yeah. And thank you for saying that. I appreciate it. Cause I feel like that does kind of go unnoticed, and rightfully so. I mean, when you see a company as big as IGN, you kind of view them as one big, machine, like uncaring machine that's doing all it can for the clicks and advertisements and sponsorships and all that stuff. And sure, I'm not going to say that's not a part of it, because sadly it is in big corporate America and the worldwide corporate system. But the editorial team, I mean, I wish people could be part of the conversations that I am and see how much care and love there is between the team. And, especially with a lot of the, unions rising up recently, especially like IGN and other companies, and how people are fighting for each other and, putting people on their backs and making sure that they're successful. There's a lot of incredible people at IGN, and also in the game development scene that we've seen more, that have had to deal with, lower than ideal salaries, layoffs, changing industries, consolidation, redundant positions, things, the whims of the higher ups, which happens at IGN and other companies, changing without notice. But as far as editorial integrity, I've never seen 1 ounce of something that made me go, are we sure we want to do that? And like, obviously there's some weird sponsorships here and there, but those are obviously clearly labeled, and we know these are coming. And it's this sad fact of the world is something's got to keep these lights on. And that's why things are so segmented the way they are, because money does have to come in some certain sense, because obviously our articles used to be the main driver, but a lot of times now it's videos or social stuff or things like that. So even the way IGN makes money and things has shifted a lot. So there's so much going on behind the scenes that rightfully people don't get to see, because it's not like there's a camera in there showing everything that happens. But there's a lot of really good people doing their best with a lot of challenges that are unfortunately come. But yeah, from an editorial perspective, I couldn't be prouder of the people that I've had the pleasure of working with and learned from and been amazed by over the past 6 years.
Yeah, and I would like to get back into the consolidation question for a second, but I do want to loop back around to something. So first of all, I think that you, and I don't mean anything by this, that I think you kind of lucked into where you are, but you also worked really hard and you made a lot. I mean, because I always joke that like there aren't a lot of people from PlayStation walking down the streets of Columbus, Ohio, right? Like,
right.
There aren't a lot of IGN people that are in the Midwest, even though a lot of IGN people are from the Midwest. And of course, COVID has made remote work and stuff a lot more feasible. But I think that you sort of worked your way up from. I remember when you were talking to me about, you're like, oh, I think I'm gonna start writing like these off articles that they're gonna kind of send me from time to time, and you were super excited about that. And then those articles started becoming more frequent, and then you were like, oh, I'm gonna start helping with the website stuff. I was like, really? Like that's like nothing against you, but like this large, like the largest games journalism site in the world is like, can you help us with the website? You'd be like, F yeah, man. F yeah.
Exactly.
Like that. That's a big deal, man. I think you should be proud of that they don't let just anybody touch IGN.com, right?
I know. It's funny. Sometimes I kind of like, it gets to the point, like, because I run weekends news and homepage, like I sometimes sit there like, I could take this whole website down in like 5 seconds. Sure. It could be entertaining. Watch the world burn. But
I'm just saying, true. There's a big Midwest event. Could use some front page
That's
coverage.
True. That's true. We could do a takeover. I see it now.
Yeah. No. Your check's in the mail.
No, but I think what you said, and obviously we, it kind of relates to the consolidation thing too, because I've been at IGN for 6 years, but I started my writing journey probably in like 2012. I was like writing IGN blogs here and there and doing stuff like that. And
because we met 20.
It's not an easy road, and like it's not even something I would recommend to everybody if they would love it, especially today, because back then there were more like positions. I'm not saying it can't happen, and obviously there's ways to get in and do stuff, but yeah, it's rough, man. It's like, just honestly, it's tough. I mean, there's so much great things happening, and when you get the chance to highlight and spotlight people, but man, I just feel, especially in the last year or two, it feels like half the time we're just talking about these consolidations and these layoffs. It really gets on you, which is tough.
So I'm interested in a whole bunch of things, but one of the big ones is editorial control. Because I think that we've had the term democratization has been used like with things like YouTube and Twitter and stuff. Democratization of news, democratization of, content, whatever. Which I think is great. I think it's great that there's so many good people making really cool quality stuff. But there is a reality in which none of these alternative media formats have any sort of editorial oversight on them. And I think we've seen, both in games journalism, but also definitely like when you look at the political sphere and stuff, that's created a lot of, where you just have people that can say whatever they want, talk about whatever they want. They don't need to justify anything. They don't even need to fact check it or say it's true. And I think at least having IGN, which functions more or less, I would say, like a traditional journalistic outlet, it has those structures in place, or at least it feels like it has those structures in place, where there is editorial control, where people aren't just posting articles about whatever they want to without fact checking and stuff. So I'm kind of curious how your experience within that, like the structure of how articles are created and published.
Yeah, because I think it's such an interesting time too, because like you said, especially in the age of YouTube and TikTok and Instagram, like people literally can spout out whatever they want, and sad to say, like 20, 30, 40, 50% of the people will just believe it blindly because it's in front of their face. And it's a very sad state that happens. I mean, as much as I hate a lot of what X has become. Like there is something that I like sometimes about the community notes. Like obviously when things are like fact checked, like there is something there that I think is important, especially with the rise of AI and other things happening. Like
Sure.
how the heck are you supposed to know what to believe? I mean, it's crazy. What I mean, that's why you have to go to the people you trust and the things you like. And like I said, with a site like IGN, it's definitely still run a lot like a traditional journalistic website where we have a group of editors and a group of freelancers, and obviously there's the hierarchical structure of the news directors and editors who will do a lot of embargoed stuff or long planning or stories that are coming out. But as far as the day-to-day news stuff, I mean, a lot of it's like, what, we're on Slack, or we have another platform called Airtable that we use to assign stories. And so someone will say, hey, I'm an expert in this, or hey, I'm free, I'm able to grab this, let me get this. So then they'll grab the story, and then an editor will look it over and go through it. And it goes through kind of a couple levels of, do we like this story? Do we like this angle? Do we like this? And then, a lot of times, even after the fact, after it goes live, there's mistakes happen. People make mistakes, and we'll make corrections, and we'll add an addendum to the website saying that, we updated here to reflect that this is actually the truth. So there's definitely a lot of stuff that goes in behind the scenes, making sure that everything we do report on is true. And, we're all people and we all make mistakes and it happens, but we also own up to that as well. And I think that's kind of an important thing that keeps it a trustworthy and keeps people coming, even though a lot of things can be a little tricky out there. But that is something that IGN has been really good at about, like I said, not just posting everything. AI is a huge no-no in our industry, in our company, and a lot of other companies too, because
we want to keep that integrity.
Yeah. I mean, there was I can't remember what website it was, but a few months back, a website got caught like doing games journalism with AI, and it was kind of a big blowback. But that was one of the bigger things too with the IGN union, where we want protections against AI, and we don't want it to obviously take our jobs and do stuff, because it's just such a messy road and things. And that's something we as an IGN editorial team are very against, because that is very, very murky waters for sure.
Yeah. So one of the things that I'm curious of your thoughts, it seems like a good lead into it, is we've entered, by the structure of how these platforms monetize, it's all about content generation. Like that's the goal. Create as much content as you can, get people looking for as long as they can. I mean, the meta ads on Facebook are awful. I mean, it's like every other post now is like a sponsored ad, or you might like this or whatever, and I never like it. Like 99% of the time, I don't want it there. There's nothing you can show me that's going to be better than just not being there. Right. But if you're always focused on content generation, then the incentive is to just keep making more and more stuff, instead of like maybe spending time creating better stuff, if I could phrase it that way. So I'm kind of curious how maybe you personally, or if you want to speak to the IGN process, just or games journalism in general, like how do you kind of balance that, like making sure that what you are creating is good quality content that is adding to the discussion of the industry or informing the reader, as opposed to just being like, oh, we need to just keep creating more stuff?
Yeah. So it's a great question. And then, there are a lot of great people at IGN. Like if people have visited IGN in the last couple of days, there was a big article about the tumultuous development of Inside Out 2, where there was a lot of, a lot of crunch and a lot of bad things happening during the development of that film. And so IGN still does a lot of these big, longer form stories, but it did well traffic wise. Other sites were picking it up, and that's kind of the big thing is, obviously we want to do long form reporting that can help and tell a story that also can get picked up and shared, because that's obviously the biggest things. But it's a lot riskier. It's kind of a similar thing. Like I know it's obviously once again not apples to apples, but a game like Concord, where it's a brand new IP, it's a brand new thing, and with game development, there were reports saying that game was in development for 8 years, and that's a big risk to take, as with how fast the industry changes, as opposed to like a Call of Duty that comes out every year. It's a moneymaker, it's coming. So yes, news stories, obviously the big things happen at IGN, and we're going to keep putting those out because news happens all the time. But features are still a huge part, and a lot of a lot of things we like to do is work with the studios, get exclusive coverage. Obviously, that's a big seller with things like that. But I think the what I kind of hinted at earlier a little bit is that articles are obviously a huge part of IGN too, but the social aspect of breaking out certain articles or certain interviews or certain feeds and putting them all over TikTok and things, or breaking that stuff out, does make a big difference. But it's interesting where IGN is not and never has been, putting out everything. Like there is actually a decent amount of picking and choosing with what we want to write,
Sure.
and also balance it with the longer form features. But like I said, it's unfortunately with the longer form features, as we've seen a lot of these other big media outlets leave and go, is it's just people aren't reading things as much as they used to, and it's kind of sad. A lot more people are getting their news and their stories from TikTok or YouTube or things like that. So it has been a little trickier in the past few years to get some of these stories greenlit or happen, because they're just like, look, we'd love to do this, but people aren't really going to read it as interesting as it's going to be. And there's obviously going to be that dedicated fan base that do and find interest in it, but the landscape has changed so much, and it's kind of a shame because there's still a lot of room for it, but it's not like it used to be, man. Not at all.
Yeah. I going back to one of your points from like 30 seconds ago. I mean, this all kind of boils down to editorial control. My background, my bachelor's was fine arts photography, and so I do a lot of photo work, a lot of video work. And the thing I keep telling, even if you're not doing like a photo essay or making a movie, like editing is so important. Like taking what you want to do and condensing it down into like its tight version of what you want to say. And whether you're making a movie or you're taking photographs or you're writing an article or whatever, like you can't do everything all the time. And if you try to do everything all the time, like most of that stuff's just not going to be very good. So it is important, we'll fix it in post, as they say.
Yeah, right.
I do find it. This is one of the things I love about YouTube. I think YouTube is probably the platform that I engage with the most, because I'm constantly watching stuff about the creative process, making video games, making movies. I tend to watch, like I will sit down and watch like that hour and 15-minute video that I talked about from that guy. I'll sit down and watch an hour and 15-minute video about the history of Rockstar. I mean, hell, PBS has this great documentary, not to get everybody on a downer here, but PBS has this great documentary about January 6th, and it's like 3.5 hours long, and I watched the entire thing from start to finish.
Yeah.
So I like long form stuff as much as the next guy, if it's well crafted. But I get the impression that a lot of folks just don't want to spend that time on there. They want that like quick dopamine hit of interest. I mean, that's why doom scrolling is a thing, right? As we sort of wrap up, I would like to ask, because a lot of our audience, including myself, we're part of the indie scene, and trying to get noticed, trying to get engagement on the indie side is just very, very difficult. How do we approach somebody like you or an IGN when we have something that we think is worth covering? Like I've tried to get GDEX covered before, but as a regional event, it's a little hard because IGN's reach is global. Like when you guys create content, you're thinking it from a global sphere. So how does a more regional kind of thing, or how does a smaller studio approach that? What should they be keeping in mind? How should they be creating content that you all might find interesting or appealing? I'm sure you get that question a lot.
Oh yeah, for sure. And it's a great question. And I'll say, I mean, people love obviously the big AAA experiences and all that stuff, but there is so much love for indie games out there, and so much love because that's where, like I said, with game development, I mean, not saying indie development is easy by any stretch of the imagination, but like with AAA development, with these games taking 4, 5, 6, 7 years to make and all this stuff, the indie space has so much more space to be creative and try new things and try to stand out, which I think is the true golden ticket for indie games. And I've seen a lot of times, what I always tell people, like, because I do get this question a lot, and it's a great one because I love to help people and try stuff, and I have an interesting perspective because I do a lot of the slotting, so I see what does well and what happens and stuff. And the indie games that I think do the best on IGN are the ones that have like that 30-second to a minute clip that you see on Twitter that goes viral that just shows something very unique about the game, because it's very easy to like scroll through, like when you're doom scrolling, as they say, and something catches your eye. If it's the art style, if it's a game mechanic, if it's, you know, fancy text, or if it's just something that really boils your game down to a few seconds and really catches the eye, especially from a social media perspective, I think that's really what can get eyes on it. Because if you just get even a little bit of virality, or if you know the right people to send to, like a game can take off and do something incredible by just a little clip, because it's just about getting your game in front of eyes. But as far as, you know, also things to really be aware of, like there's so many times where I get pitches from indie developers and games where they send like this huge block of text, and like I don't really even know where the links are to their website, or they don't have good images. Because if you want us to promote you on a site like IGN, like it's so important to have like a key art, some really clean screenshots. Like, I mean, if you have a demo, obviously that's great. I know not everyone is able to do that. And then just like, you know, a paragraph or a sentence or two of why your game should be looked at. I think that goes such a long way, because it just, unfortunately, with how many pitches you get and how many games there are, it's easy to get lost in the shuffle. But if you're able to boil down your idea and your game into something that's so easy to grasp that you're like, oh, I get it. It's like a light switch. Like, this game looks so awesome. Like I saw a game yesterday. I'll have to look it up. It was like a cooking game that is also like a cooking game RPG. And it was just kind of a very interesting thing where you're rebuilding a restaurant. And I'll have to look it up in a second before we go. But it caught my eye just as I was scrolling, because, you know, I love cooking. I love, obviously, RPGs. So even just seeing cooking RPG and seeing the game in motion, I was like, oh, this is interesting. It's got Stardew Valley vibes. It's got this. So I think there's so much importance on being able to boil down your idea into something that will catch somebody's eye, because it's great to have this huge pitch deck and this huge idea and this huge great letter that you want to send to people or do things. But if you're able to boil things down to an easy way, and it's kind of what I say, like you get in the door with a really quick pitch and then you're able to like show them the whole house, is kind of a way I really like putting it too, because it's a lot easier to sell something top level, even though there might be so much you want to say about the game, that there's something really great about having these few little things that will go such a long way, really.
Yeah. Well, I think on that note, that is a great place to wrap up. That was very insightful, Mr. Bankhurst. Thank you.
Yeah.
Also, I do want to do a call out. Carrie, one of our speakers at GDEX is here, mentioned, I think it's a book called Scarcity Brain that discusses a lot about the social media and how social media functions. So Scarcity Brain, she says, is worth checking out. So I would suggest doing that. I guess, did you find that game that you want?
Yeah, so it's called Chef RPG.
Cool.
By Pixel Architect. It's an early access on Steam. So yeah, I mean, like I said, that's a very kind of basic title, Chef RPG, obviously, but it does kind of get to the heart of it all. But even like, you know, the art style and the concept of rebuilding a restaurant really grabbed me. So yeah, it was kind of an interesting thing that just launched in early access. So definitely check it out if you're interested in that stuff, for sure.
Awesome. Well, I do want to end with, first of all, thank you, Adam, for both being on the show and sort of being my friend for over a decade, if you can believe it.
Man. Likewise.
And helping to grow the Ohio and Midwest games industry. It's been a grind. It's been a Sisyphean pushing a rock, but we're making progress.
Right?
Yeah. And I do want to reiterate for, you know, everybody that's in chat, everybody that watches on our YouTube channel, like, I also think it's really important to come out to events like GDEX where you can be around people. I always say it's just nice to be around people who kind of get it, right? Like you can make a Legend of Zelda, you know, pot joke about breaking pots and like people will get it, you know?
Yeah.
Right. And so when you can be around folks, when you can connect with people, and you never know what will come up, right? Like you might come to GDEX and then you see me and then I can connect you to Adam, and then Adam all of a sudden is, you know, looking at your game and giving you some advice. And like, you just never know how these connections are going to end up working. So for anybody watching, for anybody that's a part of the community, I highly suggest coming out to things like GDEX. Be a part of your local community game dev groups. If there's online groups or forums you want to be a part of, I highly suggest that too. But for now, that is the end of episode 39 of the Sandbox.Space weekly podcast. I want to thank everybody for watching. Thank you for everybody in the chat. Great conversations today. Of course, Adam, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much. Really a pleasure. And I do also want to say, like, you know, I will be at GDEX too, but also, Chris, I mean, if anybody out there wants me to answer more questions, I'm happy to talk to them. I can give contact info. Just you can follow me at Adam Bankhurst on all the social media sites, or even email me at adam.bankhurst@gmail.com, and I'm happy to help answer questions and help do things, like, because
Awesome.
I love nothing more than helping people, because if you don't know, you don't know, and it's very tricky to do things. So even if I can help in the smallest way, I would be more than happy to.
Maybe we could do a separate, hesitate to say like a little workshop thing, but maybe just some kind of discussion and talk about the industry and whatnot. We will be doing some stuff at GDEX, of course, but yeah. So, of course, we do this show every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Eastern here on Twitch, so twitch.tv/thegdex. We have www.thegdex.com for the expo. It's got all the information on there, and you can follow us on social media at the GDEX on pretty much everything. And then, of course, the Sandbox.Space for our weekly podcast. It's going to be a wild fall, so hopefully you all are a part of it. But again, on behalf of myself, Pumpkin, Baby, our special guest Adam, and everybody else, we will see you next week.